What's up, everybody? Welcome to From the Archive, the series in which I'm going to go through my personal stash, an archive of books, whether it's wargame related or not, and pick one and share it with you all, like talk about it, things of that nature. Over the years of being, a nerd and into this hobby and whatnot, I've amassed a collection of books, and for one reason or another, I tend to keep them, and whether or not I even really enjoy them, I just tend to keep them because I like physical, tangible books on stuff. And a lot of these books, pretty much all these books you're looking at here in one way or another, has helped shape my personal tastes, thoughts, and ideas when it comes to collecting miniatures in this wargaming hobby, maybe as direct inspiration or just something in the back of my mind. So I thought it would be cool as I unpack these things to share them with you. So what I'm going to do in each ramble, I'm going to pick one book kind of haphazardly, and I'm gonna go sit down at the table with you, and we're gonna look through it. I'm gonna give a basic thought synopsis on it, share my opinions on it, break it down a little bit, maybe look inside of it a little, and just talk about it, whether it's a novel, a codex, or a tabletop RPG book or whatever. So some of these books I have multiples of for some reason, not really sure why. Other books I do not, and it's just going to be some fun. I thought it'd be cool to kind of get some insight, perhaps, and share my thoughts on stuff that I have in my small little personal collection here, and for you all to share your thoughts as well on what I'm looking at when it comes to the book in question. What you have? Do you have the same book? What are your thoughts on it? And things like that. So this should be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab one of these books, and I'll meet you at the table. Welcome back to the table. So I thought the only way to properly follow a Gundam episode of From the Archive was to bust out something about the Tau. Tau are animation inspired, but it's thought by a lot of people. A lot of people do that kind of joke. And battle suits for sure are as close to the mobile suit concept from Gundam or Gundam-ish that we have in 40K. Even more so than I think knights and stuff like that, just because of their agility as battle suits and everything else. So I thought to do it right, I would dust off the 6th edition Farsight Enclave supplement book. And here we are. This is Farsight Enclave. This is back in 6th ed, I believe. This is when Farsight got his new model, and when the Tau Codex got updated pretty decently and everything else. So here we are with the supplement for Farsight Enclave. Supplements weren't just a Space Marine thing. In fact, I believe they started with Craftworld Yandon, but I could be mistaken. Orcs got one or two, I forget how many. Chaos got a couple, I believe. Space Marine's got a bunch, obviously, and still have a bunch. Only wants to have any right now. And Tau got Farsight Enclave. Now, as far as lore Tau goes, official Tau stuff goes, Farsight Enclave is the way for me. They are my favorite thing about Tau, and the way I would collect Tau. But a buddy of mine have come up with kind of like a fan set world based off of Noisy Boy, and inspired by Noisy Boy, and named very similarly. That is a really cool color scheme that I painted up once, and then I repainted as Farsight Enclave because I didn't do a good job of it as the Noisy Boy one. I would like to paint that up too, so I'm torn for painting up Tau stuff. But in any case, I'll just have a lot of Tau, I guess, if I ever go that route. Really enjoy the mobile suits of the Tau, right? Which is the XV8 Crisis battle suit. So that's why I brought it out after Gundam, because this is as close to mobile suits as we got, pretty much. You can make a case about Wraith Lords and Wraithguard, but they're not really a suit, kind of. I mean, they are, but it's also very different. So anyways, Mobile Suit Gundam Tau Battlesuit Edition. Anyway, the Farsight Enclaves. Through Fire, Revelation. Through Revelation, Rebellion. This is a lore injection. A lot of fluff in this book, because the way supplements were back in the day was not to actually have unit entries per se, but more so to have warlord traits, special rules for collecting a force like that, some relic situation stuff, stratagems, and then missions. There wasn't much else that was done for these supplement books, so they're mostly fluff with picture stuff and example pieces of models done and whatever else. So that's what you get here as well. And there is Farsight in all its glory. About to cut down some stuff, as you do. So yeah, to further the Gundam parallels that have been made, Commander Farsight was a rising star amongst the Tau Empire, and as this kind of renegade commander from the Empire that does his own thing, he is very aggressive, which doesn't really mean anything in terms of like things like that, but he pilots a red battlesuit, and he's kind of the renegade, and one of the things about a particular character from Gundam and a character trope is a certain masked character who tends to pilot red things. So there you go. Started by Char Zambal with his Zaku and his Gelgoog, or however you pronounce that. Anyways, this is Farsight in his red battlesuit. The, like I said, Mobile Suit Gundam Tau XV8 Crisis battlesuit. Farsight. Anyways, we have a bunch of lore going on here, kind of his road to rebellion, if you will, and a lot of signature things. Why he's such a big deal, and him and Shadow Sun's kind of history under Commander Riptide and stuff like that. I believe it was Riptide. Anyway, it just goes through and gives a lot of exposition, if you will, on the lore. But then we get to the actual Farsight expedition and the Farsight Enclaves. What's really cool, and that we don't see enough of, in my opinion, is showcasing some crazy sci-fi worlds, right? This is a sci-fi game. Let's have some fun with the worlds. So in Farsight Enclave, they show a selection of 4 different worlds. A memorial world, a geothermic world, kind of standard fare concept for 40k. And then the last 2 here are kind of out there. A crystalline world, looks like a big jewel, and a oceanic cloud world thing. Just really cool out there concepts, and it has no bearing on gameplay. It has no bearing on anything. But it just, you don't get a lot of this in 40k. I mean, we get some out there worlds. These aren't the only 2. And we have the warp and stuff to consider as well. But I think at times we forget about, the galaxy-spanning setting, and we just think about the forces fighting in a cityscape, or fighting in a jungle, or desert, or whatever else. And we can have some really out there concepts for battlefield terrain and whatnot. Imagine fighting on this crystalline world. What would the terrain be like? Would it be purely flat and smooth, or just look like that from a distance in this weird hexagonal mountain range stuff and whatever else? Stuff like that. Anyways, with that said, we get a bit more, of course, lore, and eventually we will get to seeing some models painted up. But there's Farsight holding his sword that he recovered. Here's his path to rebellion, the road to rebellion timeline stuff that was classic. And here's the 8. This is the debut of the 8, if I remember correctly, which includes Farsight. I'm hoping with this edition, if they do a Farsight Enclave supplement book, which they should, I'm hoping they add to this lore and call it Commander Farsight and his 8. I want Farsight to be the Dr. Wily / Sigma to his 8 Robot Masters / Mavericks. It's just so close to being that kind of concept, which would be really funny and cool. Does it have any bearing? Of course not. But it'd just be really cool to me. Anyways, we see the Riptide. This is also, I believe, when the Riptide came out, was in 6th edition, so if I remember correctly. So here's Farsight with the Riptide. The new broadside design also during this time. Again, stuff being kind of overhauled for the first time for Tau in a while. Now, Farsight, I believe the Farsight Enclaves really adopted the color scheme, I thought, more so for sure after they kind of turned away from the Tau Empire. But you could also argue that they kind of were adopting, the expedition of Farsight was adopting a color scheme also during it. In either case, here we see them coming to the aid of Tau, because Farsight doesn't hate the Tau Empire. It's still Tau. He still, kind of in a way, in his own way, fights to defend it. He just doesn't believe in the ethereal situation. Well, there's more to it than that. But my point is this, that he's not going to turn his back on the Tau. So here he is defending them against Necrons. Then we have just examples of the Tau color scheme on battle suits, on infantry. We see on Devilfish at times. Here's the 8 doing some crazy stuff. I believe it's the 8. And then we have, again, helping out Tau against orcs this time. So this is just a little bit of the way of war. In this section you'll find the army of Farsight Enclave, like how to represent it with special rules and warlord traits and stuff like that. Some ideas for playing the way of war is kind of like some things to keep in mind if you want to play Tau and Commander Farsight Tau or Farsight Enclave Tau. Here we have some basic special rules and warlord traits. Signature systems are their relics of war. So we get to see some Farsight Enclave signature systems, which is pretty cool. Then we have stratagems for Cities of Death and Plan of Strike, which don't exist anymore really as like just their standalone things, but stratagems nonetheless. And then we have a bunch of missions. So that's kind of the layout of supplement books back in the day. If this was to come out today, it would be a little bit thicker. It would include stuff for Crusade. It would include, I would imagine, Farsight would be in this book, I think, and he wouldn't be in the main Tau book. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on that way. Even if he was in the main Tau book, we would have other stuff. Perhaps the 8 or the rest of the 8 would be in here. Things like that. Maybe a special unit or some more signature system stuff. Just things to consider in that regard. And then Crusade rules and whatever else. But that's something we'll have to wait and see. This is 6th edition, so clearly not really usable anymore, but just some interesting things to look at. A whole bunch of cool fluff that I'm sure will still carry over if they do another supplement book for the Tau. So that's my hope. My hope is that once we get stuff for Tau, we'll be getting supplement books. Currently, it's just Space Marines to my knowledge. And like I said, I believe, I said it anyway, Craftworld the Endin, I think, was the first to get a supplement. So it didn't start with Space Marines. It works well with them, I'm not going to lie at all. But my hope is that we'll see supplements kind of creep into other books. Necrons have been out as a codex. There's no reason they couldn't get a supplement down the line for something. Why not? And with that said, with Tau, I would love to see Farsight Enclave come back as a supplement book. It makes total sense. It virtually writes itself. In fact, it kind of did back here. And what could be another book for supplements for Tau could be auxiliaries or just Kroot. That will go a long way. Farsight Enclave will go a long way. And that would be cool to see. I hope that GW isn't going to be too gun-shy when it comes to supplement books for other forces where it makes sense to do so. And Farsight makes a lot of sense given the lore of Farsight and his Enclave and comparing it to the Tau Empire. So, anyways, that has been Farsight Enclave. I think, only way I could properly follow a G Gundam episode, right, with the mobile suit equivalency as best that I feel we can get in the form of Tau battle suits. Anyways, what are your thoughts on Farsight Enclave? Do you want a supplement book to happen? Do you just want a bunch of Farsight stuff in the main book of Tau? Share your thoughts. Anyways, thanks for sticking through it, and until next time, take it easy.